Another Sunday. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. My Bridget Richard, you need to sit down so that you don't look like you're turning back to the car. Come like a malice and malice, my Bridget. Seriously, no. Like a man sit down with him back.
Look like it.
It interrupt the chemistry of the show, Bridget.
Look like you never had a breakfast this morning.
I had a good breakfast, actually.
Oh, that's
and
why
some
you
callaloo and
that's
some
why I
ackee
come
and
on my
sachets.
kitchen and I tear
some
down the kitchen this
wild
morning.
dumpling and Irish potato and a nice cup of coffee tea. Not even coffee, a coffee tea.
That is the reason why you don't come tear down the kitchen this
No,
morning.
I didn't have any reason to. I didn't have any reason at all.
Well, good evening and welcome.
Afternoon.
Afternoon, and welcome to Sunday Scoops. And today we have carried on memory lane. One of the big vocalists who actually never even started out in the music as a vocalist, eh?
Mm-hmm.
None
Start
other
playing keyboards.
Start play. I don't know when he was playing guitar first.
Keyboards first.
Keyboard.
Keyboards.
And then
he started to teach himself
to
play
play
the guitar.
And then he graduated to the bass.
As a matter of fact, he said the first guitar
He make it
he
himself.
made. His uncle made it.
And him said actually work. Yeah, play something called chicken. Anyway, we're talking about none other than Boris Gardner. And not only are we going to talk about Gardner and his career, but we are going to feature the music of the great Boris Gardner throughout the show. Some of the biggest hits coming out of Jamaica.
Same.
And the stories that surround a lot of those hits.
Yeah, started out way back in the 1960s. Yeah, a long time that in Richie. That before you're born, you know.
Born already. A big boy, if you remember that. You have to call me sir when you talk.
Okay, sir.
I will call me now and make you think me just
Now, if you take a look on the monitor, you realize what the big ones still.
yeah, biggest ever. You go buy liquor,
Look for the width of my shoulders.
When I question the bigness.
All right, boss.
You know, say that
big G.
That's what
It's
you
a
do.
big G. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Before we get started, I just want to remind the people out there, you know, to check out the Yaawd Beats platform, because that is where we invite you, the listeners, the viewers, to post your own thoughts as to issues, particularly about music and the culture.
and if you love the show too.
And if you love the show, and talk about the show from there. So in fact, we're gonna we have a little offer to people who are posting and who are the system are judged, because the system worked at all. Who are the top posters each month, and we have a little gift which we'll talk about later on in the show. But right now, Boris Gardner is where we're gonna start with, and of course the big man will run the show.
Yeah, the first tune I'm going to run is one of the first songs he wrote, and it's a song called 1,000 Teardrops, which didn't do pretty badly in Jamaica. It was actually recorded at RGR Studios, and this is 1,000 Teardrops. Yes, typical 1958 scene sound. Sir Richie. This was co-written by his brother Barrington. And the song didn't do pretty bad. It was done also by the name of the group was the Rhythm Aces.
And there's a little story, as you said, as we pointed out at the beginning. What we want to do is to tell the story behind a lot of these music. I know there are material out there on Boris, but it's to provide that vibe. What we want to do is to give life to his work and share the songs with you, the listeners. So just to put the background from a perspective standpoint. Boris was born January 13th, 1943. Marapunmolo to the next day. 1943. So if essentially Boris Gardner is now 80 years old. So to still be here they're making music. And then we have joining us from all the way over there in Chicago, a man who also worked with Boris. Charlie Gardiner, we're gonna bring him on in a couple of minutes. But just from a background, so Boris grew up, born in Kingston, Jamaica, 1943, grew up in Rollington Town, where he attended Rollington Town Primary School and Franklin Town secondary school. I mean, it's called it government school in those days.
Yeah, government things.
Yes. And you probably look at, 1940s, 1950s, 53, 54. So that's essentially, just to give you a background. But, unfortunately for him, never really got a chance to finish his schooling because at 15, he was diagnosed with some heart issues, tachycardia,
irregular heartbeat, probably resting heart rate is like 100 BPM.
So as spoken by Dr. Big G. But seriously, he had his issues, and so that would basically influence the direction that his life took, because clearly no one can only for hard work. As he said, in his own words, he said in an interview we pulled, as we did our research, he said he realized at that point when he got the diagnosis and at 15, 16-year-old, as far as he's concerned, his life is over. Okay? You can't do nothing. You can't play sports. You can't do nothing. And he dropped out of school. And then Richard Ace, who formed the band called the Rhythm Aces, Richard Ace came to him, around that same time, still him the second half of his teen years.
Because in high school he used to sing and
right,
do all kind of things. So he had like a name out in the street.
And so they were forming this band and they approached him. So Richard Ace approached him to be the lead singer in the group, and him said, the man asked him if he gonna do it. So why me try anything, right? So right? And essentially this is how we got started. And as the group grew. I think he mentioned a couple of other people were in the group. Where was it? Delano Stewart. And Delano, as we know, became a part of the Gaylords in ensuing years and had his own solo career, which was pretty successful as well. But he said they formed the group, and in the process, they recorded the song you just played, the Garth.
Right, 1,000 Teardrops.
1,000 Teardrops. But before that, he had done another song called Angela that they released.
I searched for that tune.
Yeah, it a two-man by the record, him and the man who pressed it. So him say, never go nowhere. But the other song that you did, 1,000 Teardrops, sounded pretty good. In fact, if you remember when we did those R&B, it would have fitted in this era. We're talking about 1960, just to put the thing in perspective. Charlie Gardiner joined us. People like yourself, who have shared the stage at different points in your career with some of these guys we're talking about. You help us to sort of write that story of the history of the music and the contribution of people like a Boris Gardner, yourself, and a number of other artists that you have joined us on this program to add material to the contribution that they have made. So again, just want to use the opportunity to welcome you again to the microphones of Sunday Scoops. The value of Boris Gardner. I know you never did a tremendous amount of work with him, but in terms of the period, Charlie, and especially, yes, go ahead.
He used to sing the high tenor in the group. Excellent. He was an African guy, but excellent singer also. So you had Delano Stewart, Dennis Mass, Richard Ace, and Boris Gardner made up the Rhythm Aces. And actually, the two groups at the time that were really tops in Jamaica were Rhythm Aces and the Sheridans. Mm-hmm. Both of them harmonies were perfect. you know.
Yeah.
Right.
According to him, though, he said, when they started, because them come from essentially, I wouldn't call it East Kingston. Garth, you would live in East Kingston, which was a really around a Warwick hillside.
Yeah.
Oliver Road.
Right.
But it's still trending to the east.
Yeah, it's trending, but in Vineyard Town, because him said them used to play. Then the band got started, they used to play at some little clubs. There was a little club next door, Globe Theatre. I remember Globe.
The club is called Palm Grove.
Palm Grove, you see? So I have to have Charlie on the
Because
show.
I play there too, right?
You play around there?
Yeah.
Yeah, him said them had a nice little club, but him said that it was there and they did some other smaller clubs, so similar size clubs as a upcoming group. But and they did the session with of course Veer Johns. Himself Veer Johns, it was around the same period when the Veer Johns opportunity thing.
Well, Veer Johns is from the 50s.
Yes, but him said they still, because Veer Johns thing ran for a little while. By the time he got to 1960, 61, he had now more than established himself. And some of the other players, like a Duke Reed, who also had his Treasure Isle time on RJR, right? But he said these records, Angela and Thousand Teardrops, they did them at RJR. He said the songs were recorded at RJR studio, which tell me that this was around 1959 to 1960, because by 60, 61, it became Federal that was taking over most of the recording. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah, but that song was recorded in the early 60s,
Yeah? Which one? Thousand Tears?
A Thousand Teardrops. And they did that other C is for Christmas, that Christmas song also.
Yes. C is for Christmas.
My favorite Christmas song, actually.
In fact, that song still does well, even at this point in time.
And basically, he said that he's apart from the original recording, he went back and did it
about
3 other times.
Right.
So 4 times. He did a reggae version. But I have both, but I prefer to play the
original.
Well, I don't have the original. I couldn't find the original.
The nearest original.
But I could find the nearest original, which is the one that is nice and clean and crisp.
Yeah.
And that one played on radio all the way. So this is the meaning of Christmas. Or some people call it C is for Christmas. Yeah, C is for Christmas.
My favorite Christmas.
As a kid growing up, this was a big tune. And my memories of Boris Gardner is that this man sing Lovers Rock.
Yeah, but this is the to be quite honest with you, this is the groove, the vein that I kind of knew before.
It's a soft reggae.
Yeah, it's a man where him roughed away, But anyway, now he said that the last 2 songs, it's the Christmas song and the Thousand Teardrops were picked up by Chris Blackwell, and he said they ironically, I make money off it, So this was probably an early taste of all the music thing. Wicked, no money, no me.
Yeah, that other album to Reggae Happening that he did with Byron Lee. We're gonna come to that. But as he said, he these songs were co-written by his brother Barry. It was his older brother, and the songs helped to establish him, establish the group, but they weren't making any money. Say you work for a little night at a club or you play at a club and you get £15 a week or something that you have to share between 3 men, and that can't buy nothing. And so after a while the group mash up, and they parted amicably, and he not because this is what he has now kind of seasoned himself into. That this is what he wanted. And by that time, his name started getting around Kingston. Right.
And so he decided to look around, and it was at this point he came across Kes Chin and the Souvenirs. Now, I remember Kes Chin, Charlie, that
Yeah, man.
he
Of course,
played
yeah.
a lot. Apart from in Kingston and St Andrew, did some work on the North Coast as well. This was the era of the same blues, R&B, and some mento, right? Because Keschin was largely,
Well, all those bands were similar.
yeah,
Byron Lee, Kestrian, the Sheiks, all of them were play similar music. You see,
right.
right?
And so that kind of put him in a position, So he joined Keschin as a man who can do everything, sing. At the time, he was still, playing his rhythm guitar. Guitar, he said his uncle had helped him to build.
Mm-hmm.
And said work, because Keschin, that's what I remember with Keschin work. A lot of it is similar sort of calypso, mento kind of rhythm. And then tended into a little R&B every now and then.
Right.
But,
Right.
But he said that he with Keschin, he started to do more guitar work. And
then one day, the bass player decided to just fly away to Zion.
No, that was when the bass player was, because he said Keschin, he stayed with them for about a year or two, and then the band started to lose popularity, right? And I guess with that you start to get no gig, thing, and he decided to look around. Carlos Malcolm,
Right,
recruited him, and himself with Carlos now. He basically went into Carlos as in response to the recruitment, because Carlos Malcolm had all of the big singer them with him.
Winston Francis,
Winston, yes,
Carlos Malcolm and his
Afro Jamaican rhythms.
Yes.
And
right.
Carlos Malcolm, I know, had a
Lassell
gig.
Perkins was with Carlos.
Lasses, what name?
Lloyd Wilkes, another guy named Lloyd Wilkes was a great
Yep.
singer. Yeah.
So Derek Harriott too, you said was with him, right?
And Derek Harriott was also with Carlos.
So
yeah.
if you are sing against them, man, then, because Derek Harriott a champion, right?
True.
Perkins, champion singer them.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he basically fitted in himself, and himself. What happened? He played a little guitar, some keyboard, and then one day, just as he said, God, the bass player decided to flash, and him said, Carlos approached him and said, boy, you play the bass. And he said, boy, I never played the bass guitar yet. He said, but you play the guitar, the chords similar. He said, here wait.
Right down a step by step. Right?
Yeah, but even more, he said, he practiced a one song first, right? And he said, Carlos, give him the bass for carry home. And so him start to listen to the radio and him catch him thing. It's a hell of a thing when you have a gift, because to play music like that by ear is amazing, And he said what happened is, this is how he got himself started. He practiced a couple of tunes, him go back and with the band the next day, and him test the tune, and Carlos turned to him and said, yeah, go on, good, This is
encouragement,
sweet and labor. And he said over time he just continued teaching himself, and that he basically fell into the groove and became one of the big bass players in Jamaican music.
And I was jumping ahead. This is a song that he played bass on with Larry Marshall and those guys, and it's a song 1968 called Nanny Goat.
And as you see, we are back. And before we get cracking again, before we pick up on Boris Gardner, just want to again use the opportunity to encourage you, our viewers, our listeners, to check out our Facebook page, the Yaawd Beats page, and as well to check out our website, yaawdmedia.com, for lots more material on Jamaican music and the history of Jamaican music. Also going to
Current
encourage you
affairs and
to current affairs.
all the things that are going on.
Everything we're going about Jamaica, you can find that on Yaawd Beats. And we're encouraging
And
you.
Yaawd Beats, Richard, is on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a
Make it
Facebook
sound
page.
like
And
it's
so
an independent website.
no, I said Yaawd Beats, our Facebook page, and our website, yaawdmedia.com, as well as our sister company, Yaawd Media, yaawdabroad.com. But on Yaawd Beats, what really want to talk about that, want to encourage you guys to go to the page, and if you have articles, material that is germane to the stuff that we talk about, culture, the music, post on the page. The top poster has an opportunity to receive one of these prints.
Not top poster.
No, top poster.
Posts with the highest views and comments and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Well, isn't that the top poster? Anyway,
No.
the top post and the top poster that has the material that has the greatest attraction, yes, you have an opportunity to win one of these prints. And there are a variety of prints that are on offer. That is just one. This is another one from our dancer series. And these prints have a value of about $125. It is going to be yours for free. It's prints on canvas. They are stretched, ready to hang wherever you want to, little show off thing, good conversation starters. And all we invite you to do is to become a contributor to our Yaawd Media site. And at the same Yaawd Beats site. And again, and I also encourage you to visit the websites as well. Big G?
Yeah, a couple of songs. Even Nanny Goat was a big one. But a couple other songs that was done around about the same period, 1968. And the thing about Boris Gardner is that he was more of a session and live performance musician than his recording career. I think his recording career picked up in the mid-70s. I mean, a couple of singles here and there that he did with other groups, but as an artist in his own right. Wasn't that big a recording artist until the mid-70s and 80s. But there were 3 songs done in mid-60s. A song called I'm Alone. Another one is A Groovy Kind of Love. And the other one is More Than Words Can Say. More Than Words Can Say.
I'm pretty sure he revisited that song.
Yeah, man, he revisited it.
Afterwards, because I'm more familiar with a different version of the same song by him.
Cleaner.
Yeah, cleaner.
Cleaner version.
It never sound like a sardine pan to play the guitar. Kind of thing. But Charlie, welcome back. Yeah, so Carlos, so he spent quite a bit of time with Carlos, learned a lot of the trade, the craft of musicianship, did a little bit of vocal work as well. And then he said the band, Carlos, took them to, well, they were all over the place. He said they went to the Bahamas, I think it was, for a little bit.
Yeah, they went to the Bahamas, played at the Bahamas.
Yeah, they were in the Bahamas for about a year. And then they went to New York. And they were in New York for a while, and then Carlos Malcolm turned to them and said, "Why we now go back to Jamaica?" He said, "We."
No.
Him say,
First thing you notice,
him say,
that's like a white powder thing.
Yeah, no, him said that. Him said that when him go to Canada. Him said they're New York, and him the New York thing go on, and him say, "Boy, it's like Carlos take the thing serious now." Him say, "Man, boss in the New York, the West Indian communities within the area." So they were going to stay there. And he said Carlos offered to find jobs. There were 5 of them or so in the group. And he said, we find you guys jobs, you work 5 days a week. And then on the weekend, them lick the weekend hard in terms of, performance and things. And he said, boy, I remember Sefima no good at that. And so that was not a domino game that he want to participate in. I want to live language, right? So he said, turn to Carlos and said, boy, I can't manage that in a party. So I throw in the towel, right this up. And so he actually, on his way to Jamaica, he went to Canada, right? So it's a roundabout, a circuitous trip.
He went to Canada. Immediately, I'm thinking, hold on, Jamaica, South Canada is
Yeah, him say
northeast.
him go to Toronto. And him say him up at Toronto, you know, and you know, I don't remember who it was, but some music are going up at Toronto. And him say what happened is now round in the October, November, him look through the window and him see some white thing come down. And say, what that? And the man him say, snow. Him say, snow? Nah man, me ain't this. And him say, him hot footed out of Toronto on a plane back to Jamaica. And when he came back to Jamaica, he figured music is what him know, so him try a thing, you know? And him say, they went to, I don't remember where it was. He started a little band though, like a band called, there was a little band, a little club. It was a restaurant actually, yeah. A steakhouse called the Broncos. And he said the guy who run it come to him and said, boy, when I love you, put, you know, organize some music. And he said, I mean, try a thing. And him find a little drummer. And him find a
trio.
A trio. So they formed a trio with him as bass and vocalist. And him said, them call themselves the Broncos. And the thing are going good. And people now start coming to jazz. Yeah, mostly jazz and little R&B, but you know, it was thing. But people are like it. And them say, what happened now? They branched out of the mostly jazz now and started to play some standard, some what you call
top 40.
Yeah, top of the pops music. And the people like it. And them start to play a whole week, 5 days a week. And
the restaurant and a nightclub.
The place turned into a nightclub and restaurant. And so one evening, them in at the restaurant now, and this guy came there. And the guy was, I think he was a manager at Courtly. And he said to them, or was it Courtly? No, the Sheraton. Courtly, right. And he said, they went to the guy said, boy, would I like, you come play for us, name a price. And he said, name a price? And you know, because he said the club are going good, you know, they might make about £30, £35 a man a week. 35 pound, a big strong money in the 1960s.
Pounds, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And him said, them, you know, when the man said, name your price, he said, what? And they named the price. And shortly after, they moved to the Courtly, where, you know,
they became Boris Gardner happening.
No, him said them never, I know, they said them do the Boris Gardner.
That's real, man.
Boris Gardner. Him said, what happened is, Courtly never lasts long because after a while the standards start to drop. And the Sheraton had a band that the band was playing mostly jazz. And him said what happened is the patrons kinda hear about them over Courtly and thing, and you know when the thing started to fall apart, they got a contract over by the Sheraton, which was the Sheraton Kingston, and they took up residence over there now, and that's where the Boris Gardner happening, because now him said the band bigger. Him have full set of musicians and him as bassist and vocalist, and they ran
that Lounge.
The John
Connor Lounge.
Right, and so that now became the place where the Boris Gardner happened, because them time me a young boy still, you know, but we are here about the Boris Gardner happening. I think. Charlie, I'm not hearing it.
Yeah, man. At that time, I was on the North Coast now.
Right.
When they started the happenings at the Sheraton. Yeah.
So this is, you know, a career that is now climbing. It said they basically fell into step with the music trade now. By this time, the music is now shifting a lot more rock steady. But Garth,
coming through rock steady,
right?
Fusing into reggae,
right? But him still singing him ballads and stuff, you know, and
rhythm and blues and stuff.
Rhythm and blues. I'm saying even then, while they were still doing work at the Sheraton, he was doing some freelance studio work with a number of studios.
And one of the studio work that he did was with Studio One. And one of the big songs he played on at the time was Marcia Griffith's Feel Like Jump.
Hi there. If you enjoyed that clip, go on over to our website at yaawdmedia.com where you can watch the entire broadcast at your leisure. And while you're there, why don't you check out our other reggae music features? And before you leave, pick up some of our Jamaican reggae merchandise, and hey, don't forget to tell your friends.